Most of us start out with very limited time when we want to start a blog or a website. That's just how it is because we have all the stuff to attend to with work and family and stuff, right? So in this video I want to talk a little bit about how I would structure my time if I only could set aside 1 hour for creating my blog and my website per day. So the very rough outline of how my week would look like would probably be the first day of the week for researching and finding the topics to write on. So not the actual research, because I do that as I write, but actually to find the topics to write for during the rest of the week. And then I would definitely spend like 80-90% of the week just writing content, because that's what moves the needle, right? You need to get a lot of content out there, and that's the most important thing, and that's just even more important if you only have very limited time available. So roughly I would spend 1 day per week to just sit down and write and write and write. So you would at least get 1 or 2 blog posts out consistently every week. Because it's very easy to get into a routine where you just go check social media and stats and Google Analytics, and you go and do all these different things that doesn't really make a difference in the overall picture. It doesn't make you more money with your blog or give you an additional visitor that you check the analytics, and in many cases also not that you're doing something in social media. So let's talk a bit about social media here. If you only had 1 hour, or if your time is just very limited, I would not probably spend any time on social media for the first many months at least. And then if you wanted to, you should focus on one social media platform. Don't go all over the place. And I would strongly advise you to stay away from Facebook. And I would say Facebook is never a good option for new bloggers these days. It takes up so much time, and the traffic you can get out from Facebook to your site is just very little, so it doesn't really make any difference. If you want to spend time on social media, I would say there are 2 options for us as bloggers today. It's Pinterest and it's YouTube. And it depends a lot on what you want to write about, because if you are in the visual niche, I would say Pinterest is a very good place to be. It's also something that takes a lot of time, and you don't have to do this. You don't have to be on Pinterest or YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all these platforms in order to have an active blog. So the reason why I want to push you in the direction of Pinterest and YouTube is because Pinterest is just a search engine for images, right? So you can get a lot of traffic from Pinterest, and sometimes also faster than from Google. But there's also a lot of threats associated with Pinterest, because maybe they go down the route as Facebook did and just send less and less traffic unless you pay them. So as you probably know, it's possible to advertise now on Pinterest, and that also means that they will probably start charging you more and more to get the traffic off of the platform and onto your site. That's what I think. So I'm not investing heavily in either YouTube or Pinterest these days. I spend like 95% of the budget in our publishing business just on producing great content and having great editors. And then of course the images and all that stuff, everything that's visible to people directly on our website, because I feel like we get so much traffic from the organic Google searches, like people just typing in all these questions and asking about all these things on a daily basis on Google, that I feel like that's definitely the most stable traffic source for us, and also what I see in the future. And YouTube can also be a good traffic source for sure. I mean, because you can rise so quickly. When we did a lot of videos for Go Downsize, we would sometimes have a video just shoot up even early on with the site and with the YouTube channel. So sometimes it would get like 100,000 page views in a short amount of time. And of course that would send us a lot of traffic when I mentioned the site and I had this little watermark in the video. But that takes a lot of time. I mean, just creating the YouTube channel alone with 1 hour per week, that can totally be done, but that's a whole separate business. So if you have 1 hour per day and you have these 7-hour weeks, I would say focus all your time on content creation, because that definitely works. All the little tips and bits and pieces you can pick up here on my channel here, or if you want to take my course, you'll see exactly how to find these topics to write for that you can rank for with a brand new blog. And you can do that. I've done that many times without having any social media presence. Okay, so we talked about social media. I want to talk also a bit about design and the setup of the website, because it's very, very easy to get buried in work just trying to figure out how to optimize the design of your site, how to create a new logo, and how to figure out the width of the widget area or whatever. There's so many things that go into the design of your blog and your website. And I'd say don't spend like any time on that if you have 1 hour per day. Just forget about it. Just set up your site with WordPress and Astra, and I would say whichever hosting platform you go with, you can almost always ask them to set up WordPress for you for free. I recommend Host Armada these days, but I've used a ton of hosts, and all of them, all the ones that I've worked with, would set up WordPress for me for free. You just ask them on your chat if they would set up WordPress for you. Then you have that going, and then you install a good basic theme. I recommend Astra these days. I use that across almost all of my sites, and I have been doing so for a couple of years now, and I really enjoy that theme. It's fast, it's sleek, it looks awesome, and just out of the box it looks great, and everything will work for you. And many people think that it's so important to have a good and unique design on your site, when in reality it doesn't really matter like at all. From all the times that I've updated the design and changed themes and just did a lot of visual changes across my sites, I rarely saw any difference when I looked into Google Analytics afterward or Google Search Console. I would just see people will spend almost exactly the same amount of time on my site, almost the exact same number of people would leave my site after X amount of time. It doesn't really make a big difference, because if you go with a good theme, for example the free Astra theme, it looks so great already that there's hardly not anything you can do to really make that user experience much greater. And many times you'll just mess up your site instead of improving things when you try to adjust all the different settings within a theme. So I would say just forget about design. Just go with the quick logo. Maybe just use your letters like the theme would insert it, like without you even creating a logo. If you just tell any theme what your website's name is, it will just list that with a good standard font up there, and that'll look just great. So do that for a year or two at least, and then you can always come back and give it a good visual overhaul if you now feel like it's time to do that, because you'll get much more traffic and it will actually turn into a real business if you just keep producing 1 or 2 articles per week consistently. So that's definitely the most important thing as a blogger. Keep writing every day, every week if possible. And if you only have 1 hour per day, then at least write for that full hour most of the days. And then of course there's a ton of other things you can do. You can dive into link building and all different things. And you know, my approach is to stay away from it and just focus on going after underserved topics. So you don't even need to bother about all that. Just produce great content and make sure that Google can find it by setting up a Google Search Console profile, feed them the sitemap, and maybe ping them for the first many articles you write to make sure that Google finds your content immediately. That's how I would structure my time and my days and my week if I only had 1 hour per day for blogging. And I would say it's totally possible. There are many people inside my course who have a full-time career, full-time job, family, and all that other things to attend to. And I guess they have like 1 hour per day, and that's also how I started out. I was working full-time with my e-commerce projects, and I was doing a lot of different things in the beginning until I ventured into full-time blogging. And I've seen it done many times, so you can definitely do that. If you can set aside 1 hour per day, you can definitely get there over a few years. And if you do it right, you get into a good niche and you do topic research right, you try to rank for stuff where you can actually compete and all that stuff, then you can also easily take it to $1,000 per month within a couple of years. I've seen that many times, and that's also what I'm sharing about in my course and here in the channel. So it's just to give you some confidence that it can totally be done. If you have 1 hour per day, go for it. All right, I'll see you guys next time.